Imagine being out on a ship in the 8th century, just crossing the English Channel, when all of a sudden, a storm appears out of nowhere. The crew rushes to take in the sails and steer into the seas to avoid capsizing. Waves are crashing over the deck, and the rain seems to be falling sideways, pelting your face. Everyone is hanging on for dear life. It starts to feel inevitable that the ship is going to sink if this weather continues. But then, a nun on board goes on deck, kneels, and starts to pray. As soon as she finishes praying, the rain ceases and the waves calm. You look to see the storm behind you, but it's just gone. There's no trace of it besides the mess that it left on the ship. Who was this incredible nun? Howdy y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Sanctified Podcast, the show where we explore the stories of various saints throughout history and learn about what they did and how we came to recognize them as saints today. Today, we're going to explore the life of Saint Walpurga, a woman who calmed the seas and healed countless people. Now, if you listened to my episode about Saint Willibald, titled Who Was Saint Willibald the Pilgrim, you might recall mentions of Walpurga. They were siblings, and they had another brother, Winibald. I guess their parents like W names. I don't know, just kind of funny. But like the rest of her family, Walpurga was profoundly devout. Walpurga, also sometimes referred to as Walburga, was born in Demonia, England, around modern-day Devon, in the year 710. Her father, Richard the Pilgrim, raised her to be very faithful as a young child. But when she was just 11 years old, Richard set out on a pilgrimage to Rome with his sons and left Walpurga behind in the care of the abbess at Wimborne Abbey in Dorset. She had only been there a short while when she received a letter stating that her father had passed away at Lucca. Her brothers attended the funeral and carried on as they felt was appropriate. I won't journey too far down their paths since I already shared that with Willibald's story in a previous episode, especially because it's more of his story than Walpurga's story. So, while all of this was going on, Walpurga continued studying at Wimborne Abbey, and eventually she took the vows of a nun and devoted her life to her faith. The nuns at Wimborne Abbey were very renowned for their skill at copying manuscripts as well as for the opus Anglicanum, which is a needlework skill that used gold or silver thread on velvet or linen and had jewels adorned on it. The work was admired all throughout Europe, which really says something since it was the 8th century and word didn't usually spread very quickly or very far. So this was some seriously incredible work that they performed. Walpurga stayed at the abbey for just under 30 years until Boniface, her uncle, began to ask his family to help him with religious work in Germany. Walpurga's brothers quickly joined him, and Walpurga herself wasn't that far behind. On the way there, the first miracle attributed to Walpurga was witnessed by several people, and it was that while sailing from England to continental Europe, the ship encountered very rough seas. The crew was working as hard as they could to keep the ship stable and keep everyone on board safe, but it was really looking close to impossible. Walpurga kneeled on deck, and she prayed for the storm to pass. And before they knew it, the seas calmed and the storm was gone. The only trace of it was the tired and wet crew. Upon arrival, the crew told everybody about the miracle they witnessed, and Walpurga had a reputation before she even reached her final destination. People spread the story of her miracle very quickly. All together, that is Boniface, Walpurga, Willibald, and Winibald, they traveled to Francia, which is now Württemberg and Franconia, and they traveled there to evangelize the pagans. She spent some time at the Church of Antwerp, and actually now the church has adopted her as its namesake. After she left, and likely after she passed away, or at least after she performed other miracles, but maybe while she was still alive, the church would celebrate the Feast of Walpurga 4 times a year. So she clearly left a very big mark. Her brother founded a monastery of Heidenheim on Hahnenkamm, and Walpurga was a nun in his monastery. In 751, she became the abbess of the monastery, and towards the end of his life, he told Walpurga that she would be his successor. In 760, after he passed away, Walpurga became the superintendent of the Heidenheim on Hahnenkamm monastery. She protected the people and performed many miracles there. In 870, the Bishop of Eichstätt, Otkar, wanted to repair the deteriorating monastery of Heidenheim, but the men completing the work weren't very careful, and they actually desecrated Walpurga's and Windelbald's grave. She was buried next to her brother, because the two were supposedly very close. One night, she appeared before the bishop and told him what the workers had done. The bishop had to right that wrong, so her remains were moved to Eichstätt on September 21st that year. The place she was moved to began to produce like a strange oil, and people were curious about this oil, and after touching it, some people claimed to be cured of all afflictions they had. This drew numerous pilgrims to visit the healing oil from her tomb. And now, Walpurga is among the saints known to have had special oil come from their bodies, known as the Elaephori. Some of her relics have actually been taken to other churches around Europe, and the oil from her body has been taken all across the globe, and it is still producing oil to this day. It would be pretty cool to get to go to Walpurga's Abbey in Eichstätt to see this oil, and maybe someday I'll be able to. It'd be a really, really cool thing to witness. Now, the oil has actually been tested, and it's shown to be functionally identical to water, at least like the chemical composition. But it's been called oil for so long that it's kind of hard to just change its name at this point. Plus, most people that see it and touch it say that it just doesn't feel like normal water. And it only flows from October 12th until February 25th, the day of her death. There are a few records of the miracles that come from this oil throughout the centuries, including birth difficulties, eye problems, and blindness, hearing impairments, epilepsy, open lacerations, and various other accidents and injuries. And they all say that after touching this oil, these problems just kind of went away. So clearly it's not just water. There's something special about this water oil mixture. It has some unknown properties to it that modern science just can't really explain. And there's actually now an abbey dedicated to Saint Walpurga at Eichstätt, as well as a few more all around the world. So obviously the abbey in Eichstätt is the one where her body is. And in Tanzania, there's even a hospital dedicated to Saint Walpurga. She was canonized May 1st, 1870 by Pope Adrian II, and her feast day is February 25th. She's the patron saint of Eichstätt, Antwerp, Zutphen, for people in storms or fearful of water, for the sick, for mariners, for rabies, and for famine. Or I guess you would say against rabies or against famine. Like, you wouldn't pray for her intercession to bring that thing. You'd pray for her to take it away. Walpurga actually has a special holiday called Walpurgisnacht, or Walpurga's Night. It is celebrated the night before her feast day and during the day of her feast day in some places, mostly in Europe. It is possible that this celebration actually paved the way for May Day festivals, which would see similar activities and celebrations, but it's more likely that the May Day celebrations already existed, and since Walpurga's feast day kind of coincided with some of the celebrations, because remember, she had multiple feast days, they just grouped the two together. But in any case, a common event at these celebrations is the lighting of a bonfire. And the idea behind it is that the evil spirits and the witches will be kept away with a large fire, the same way that Walpurga kept them away while she was still alive at some of these churches. Some places even make a puppet witch to burn, which kind of reminds me of the Benedict Arnold event in New London, Connecticut, where they actually burn a puppet of Benedict Arnold. People get weirdly excited about it, at least when I once visited a few years ago. People were very excited, and it was kind of interesting to watch. But anywho, back to Walpurga. There's other variations of Walpurgisnacht, of other types of celebrations, and these include searching for a cherry tree in blossom, and then tied in with another celebration, sort of, you have to kiss under that tree to indicate a good year for the couples that kissed. This is one of the biggest celebrations in Finland, and young adults will party throughout the night, and then the following morning, families and friends will go out on picnics. And sometimes there's still parties going on because they go for picnics early, and the partiers like to drag it on. So you get a little bit of overlap, but in any case, it's a very, very big deal. It's also very popular in the Czech Republic, Estonia, Germany, Hungary, the Netherlands, and Sweden. though it mostly seems as though the roots of it have kind of been left behind. It's just a sort of general celebration nowadays, not specifically for Walpurga. It still might carry her name, but a lot of the people celebrating it are just celebrating it for fun, not actually for her life. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. So, what do you think of Saint Walpurga? What are your thoughts on the oil-water mixture that is still coming from her body to this day? I hope you found her story interesting. And if you've ever seen the oil or know somebody who has, I would love to hear about it. It'd be really interesting. I look forward to learning your thoughts on Saint Walpurga, and thanks for listening. If you'd like to support the channel, you can subscribe, download the episode, comment, share with your friends, or send me a suggestion on a saint to check out by emailing me at sanctifiedpodcast@proton.me. You can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Podbean, and more. Just search for the Sanctified Podcast, and I should have a few episodes uploaded on whatever service you're using. If I don't, let me know, and I'll get right on that. Take care, and have a wonderful day.